You are listening to Grit for Life podcast. I'm your host, Nate Parks, and this is Grit for Life Radio. Grit stands for Getting Ready and Training for Life. Hopefully you already know that, because hopefully you are a constant listener and part of the Grit for Life family. Today we're going to be continuing on. We've been taking a look at several different, how do I say this? I guess the definition. We've been looking at the acronym S.T.O.P. Searching your soul, taking charge, observing yourself and others, and preparing to push forward. And I'm tired. I have been running crazy. In fact, what's so funny is I have so many people that I talk to through Grit for Life, through my motivational work, through our Facebook, and just day-to-day activities, who constantly are telling me, well, I just don't have time. I don't have time to do this, or I don't have time to do that. And I find that funny, because if you've actually been listening, in fact, if you've listened to one of our recent podcasts, I talk about journaling and keeping track of your time. And talking about how when you do this, even if you do it for a day, if you do it for 2 days, and you account for each of your moments of time. And that's what we've been taking a look at. This is part of not only the Grit for Life podcast, not just part of the Grit for Life, but also this podcast goes hand in hand with our 4-week free online workshop that we're focusing this time, and the subject of it is your time. And one of the things I've talked about is that if you actually take account for your time, you will find it ironic how much, and maybe even sad, I don't know, how much time you actually have that you waste, that you maybe can't even account for, or you use on social media, or you're just kind of, here and there, and and then we say we don't have time. But we really do. It's what we look to invest our time in is what I guess we should really look at. And when you take a look, when I say that I'm tired, and I am, because I'm constantly going. You've heard me talk about how I'm a published author. I'm currently working with my editor on getting my second novel out. I'm currently writing a third novel. I'm reading 3 books. I am a father. I am a husband. I'm a supervisor. I also work 2 different, not only do I do Grit for Life, my motivational speaking, but I've got 2 other projects. Well, I'd like to say 2 other projects. I'm sure there's plenty more that I work on, and I'm constantly going. And I'm worn out. But I'm taking this time out today to talk to you about your time, seizing your time. And as we've been looking at the acronym STOP, we're taking a look at the O today, which stands for observe yourself and others, because this is important. And I don't really want to talk much about observing yourself, because even though I've talked about how important this is, it's almost would be repeating what I've talked about in the soul searching aspect, because soul searching and observing yourself go hand in hand. And what I do want to say, though, is that it is important to observe yourself along the way to ensure you're continuing to grow upward and forward, because that's what we want to talk about. In order to be success, in order to stay motivated, in order to find out how you can better your life, how you can more manage your time, these are things that you need to do. And in order to do that, you have to observe yourself and be honest with yourself. But what I want to focus on today is observing others. And another way to take a look at that, observing others, is mentorship and the importance of mentorship. Not only finding the right mentor, why is it important to have a mentor, but at the same time learning how to mentor others. I believe it is very important that not only do we look forward, not only do we learn forward, but we train backwards, and we prepare those who are around us who may not be where we are on our path. We've talked about the path. We've talked about finding the path. But making sure that they're aware of how you got to where you are. Because wherever you're at, there's someone ahead of you that you can learn from. And wherever you're at, there's someone behind you that you can teach. And in doing that, we are rewarded with a better self, a better self-confidence, a better understanding of ourselves, a better understanding of where we're going, and a better understanding of where we've been. In an article in Inc. Written on Inc.com in January of 2016, John Rampton gave his 10 reasons on why a mentor is a must. And one of the things I've learned in, motivating people, talking with people, life coaching, mentorship is don't reinvent the wheel. If you can find something that's good, make sure you give credit to the person who came up with it or talked about it, but use it. There's no reason. I think sometimes people get so caught up, especially in mentorship or life coaching or motivational speaking, they get caught up in their own product, and they can also sometimes become, I don't want to say narcissistic. I wouldn't go that far because it sounds very judgy, but at the same time, they almost get so caught up with making sure that their name is out there. And we know branding is important. I think when it comes to motivational speaking and motivating people, I think two people that come to mind that I think have done very well at branding themselves is Tony Robbins, and at the same time, Eric Thompson, E.T., or Eric Thomas. And these two guys have totally have the niche on making sure that their market and their brand is good. And I think that is important. But at the same time, I think we don't need to reinvent the wheel. And so I'm not going to do that in an essence. I'm going to take a few... I'm going to take the top 3 things that I believe John Rampton speaks about in his article, but I do want to expound on these. I want to use these and then expound on my own fashion. The first one is a mentor provides knowledge and information. Now you can go at your life, do your everyday. You can do it on your own. And you can learn everything on your own. Or you can choose to watch and learn from a mentor. And I think that learning a lesson, maybe you made a mistake or maybe you tried something that didn't quite work, and we can learn from that. But at the same time, I think it's important to learn from a mentor. Why is this? I think because by learning from a mentor, in some sense, it provides you a fast pass. And what's a fast pass? I don't know if you've ever been to Disney World or an amusement park that has a way to cut in front of the line. Disney have really marketed this well with the Fast Pass, and I know they've changed it off and on. I think they got a different way. I haven't been in Disney World in a few years, but they have different ways that you can go and you can log in, or you can say, hey, I'm going to go return back to this ride at a certain time, and it sends you straight to the front of the line. You don't have to wait. What if we could do that in our own life? What if you could do that in your success? Well, in a way you can, as long as you surround yourself with the right mentors. Because one of the things that a mentor brings is an understanding of how to do something that maybe they made a mistake or they learned from, and they can teach you so you don't have to do that. I learned from my mentors what not to do, as well as what to do. I learned how to grow. I learned what you could go through and still survive. I've watched people in my life. My father is one of them. He's one of my largest mentors. I learned from him how to fight, And you say, you already said that. I know. But from my father, I learned how to do it over and over and continue to fight more and more and continue to push forward. I watched my father go through different things in his life. I watched my father come out as a gay man. I watched my father deal with the repercussions of that in a world that didn't quite understand it. I have watched him go through a divorce. I watched him be a father through a divorce. I've watched my dad go through many things that I have been able to take and implement into my life. And I didn't have to necessarily go through it, or maybe I went through it in my own way, but I was able to look at my dad and say, hey, it's a long-term investment. I watched him go through this, and I know I can go through this if he can go through it, because he did it before me. I learned from my grandfather. I learned how to be stoic, how to be a hard worker, and that you can face the truth about yourself and still change no matter your past. If you talk to people that knew my grandfather before I really remember him, they'll tell you they remember him being an alcoholic. I can tell you I don't know that part of my grandfather. I never witnessed that part of my grandfather. And why? Because my grandfather recognized things that needed to be changed. And he did it, no matter his past, no matter what he had gone through. Military leaders I learned how to not treat people a certain way, as well as how to treat them and how to inspire them. But also what actions could demoralize the strongest of warriors, but what words and actions could encourage the most scared of those warriors to do something that they would have thought impossible. I may have learned this by just personal learning, but by observing mentors, I was able to jump to the front of the line. And this saved time in my walk of success. Mentors provide knowledge and information that in order for you to get without using a mentor, you're going to waste time and energy, and you may never even reach the point that you're trying to reach. Number 2, mentors can see where we need to improve, where many times we cannot. I think this is important. I will say I hated when mentors would actually do their job in my life. You say, what? What I mean by that is I made sure, first of all, that I chose people that would hold me accountable and not let me break away from where I was supposed to be heading. But now with that, those mentors would stand on the outside and would ask me engaging questions. This is important. Your mentor must be engaged and invested not only in what they're doing in their life, but as well as your success. And they would ask me engaging questions. They would seek to know my goals, and then they'd hold my feet to the fire in order to make sure I was growing. I remember having it where, especially in the military, my supervisors, good leaders, would say, where do you want to be? And I'd say, this is what I want to be in my personal life. This is what I want to be in my military career. This is where I'd see myself in 5 years. And then they would watch me do things, and they'd come up to me and go, hey, what does this have to do with your goals? How is this furthering yourself and your goals? Sometimes I hated that. I absolutely hated that because I didn't want to hear it. I wanted to throw a fit, in all honesty. But they had to do that. You see, they would seek to know my goals and then hold my feet to the fire to make sure I was growing. Over and over, I have had my mentors come to me and point out things that I could not see or was not willing to acknowledge. This is why it's so vital, if you're going to take charge of your time, that you choose a handful of strong mentors to walk the path with you. And if you're not aware of what you need to look for in a mentor, then listen to some of the other podcasts that we have done here on Grit for Life Radio, because we've talked about that, but that is so important. I have not always been wise choosing my mentors. I've chosen people that, in all honesty, the mentors let me down. Mentors are not gods. They're not to be put on a pedestal, because just as much as you can make a mistake, or just as much as you may not be successful at something, a mentor can also do the same. But you can also learn from their mistakes and their failures. But make sure that you're choosing a right mentor, one who matches your goals. And your mentors may change. You may have a mentor that can only get you so far, and then it's time to jump ship, but make sure you're not jumping ship alone. You jump ship, you choose another mentor. You get on another boat, get on a faster car, something that can get you to where you need to go. But a mentor can see where we need to improve, where many times we cannot. And in that, you need to make sure that you allow your mentor to be honest. Don't get mad. I mean, like I said, there were times that I would get upset, but I realized that I gave that mentor permission to hold me accountable. This is your time. You choose the right mentor, then allow them to do their job in your life. Third thing I want to look at is mentors find a way to stimulate our personal and professional growth. Because that's what we're about, right? We're not satisfied. We don't need to be satisfied. We can't become stagnant where we're at. We want to grow. We want to be successful. We want to get the most out of the short time we're here on this planet. This is your time. This is your time to be successful. This is your time to take charge. This is your time to stop. But you need to have a mentor that will stimulate your personal and professional growth. The best mentors I ever had were not just leaders, but men and women who wanted nothing more than to invest in me. Now, what do I mean by that? Let me say that again. The best mentors I ever had were not just leaders, but they were men and women who wanted nothing more than to invest in me. So, what I mean by that is sometimes I say, well, leader, and we start thinking like supervisor or someone who's in charge of us. But I don't necessarily mean that. I mean a leader who is a leader in their own life. But men and women who will come up and say, man, I see something in you. I have several people in my life right now who have taken chances on me. Some are younger than me. Some have probably, in an essence, done less than me. But they have a quality in their life that makes me say, I need that. I want that. I want that invested in me. And then they saw enough in me to invest in me in my personal and professional growth. They took time out of their life to invest. How, you ask? They would ask me where I'd want to be, where I was going, where I am currently, what motivated me. You see, they found unique ways to move me forward, to stretch me, to help me look outside the box. And if your mentor or your group of mentors are not doing this, it's time to vote them off the island. Find someone who will do this. If you have a mentor who's willing to just allow you to maintain the status quo, then you need to shed that anchor, get you a motor or sails for your boat, and move on out. By observing individuals who have things that you see in them that you go, I want that. I want to do that. I want that quality in my life. I want that character in my life. I want that element in my life. By observing them, observing how they do that, and choosing the right mentors, this will help you with success. I want to end it with this. When you are observing, observe everyone. In several of my podcasts, I have touched on the understanding that the janitor is the CEO, and the CEO is the janitor when it comes to understanding the pathway to success. With that understanding, do not fail to observe everyone. I strive to pick up something new every single day, something I didn't know from anyone and everyone. Become a person, even if you are the most introverted individual. You don't have to actually talk to someone if you don't want. Just watch and observe. Everybody and anybody that you come in contact with every day has something positive or something negative that you can learn and turn it in to something that will move you forward and help you claim your time. When you do this, it will open up so many more chances and opportunities for doors to open for you. Why? Because you will know things others did not. Because you have observed those others will not. I want to say that again. You will know things others do not because you have taken the time out to observe those that others will not. We learn through observation. You say, what do you mean? There's no question that we are influenced and learn from those we observe. A child throws a temper tantrum and swears. And then we look and see that the parent comes around the corner with anger in their blood, cursing at their child to behave. Wonder where the child learned that behavior. If you have been around children, you know, even a dog, even a pet will learn from your behavior. They pick up on signals. I have a dog that we rescued, and he knows when I'm having a rough day. He knows when my wife's having a rough day. Our cat picks up on things, observing my wife. My wife says our cat is like her therapy animal, because the moment my wife is having a bad day, that cat will come out of nowhere and curl up and start purring and cuddle with my wife. That cat has observed the behaviors of my wife. When we learn to observe, we learn to claim our time. You see, as adults, we're no different. We become what we observe. And what we observe is what we will act upon. We become what we observe. And what we observe is what we will act upon.